Guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Srish and this is our second video for the year, and today's video is actually part one of a two-part series I'm doing. So if you know, or if you don't, I'm going to tell you anyway. My day job is as a character artist, and when I tell people that I am a character artist, they're always like, what is that? So I have to explain to them that I make characters and illustrations for books and games and movies and all that kind of stuff. So instead of just sitting here and rambling about what I do for a living, I thought I might as well just show you. So today's video is going to be part one of character design, where we take a random prompt from a random prompt generator and kind of rough out some thumbnails for possible costumes and poses and all that kind of good stuff that this character could be wearing. If you're ready to do this, let's jump in. So, like I usually do when it comes to character practice things, I started with a random character prompt generator, and I will leave a link to the one I use below just in case you want to try your hand at it. Anyway, the prompt it gave me was for a female neutral character, so not a hero but not a villain either, and she's a biker. Now, she wears a lot of leather. She wears a helmet all the time, and she wears some chunky boots. And in terms of her appearance, she has a large nose, large round eyes, long dark hair, 2 nose piercings, and a giant scar across the face. Now, the scar I think I forgot about when it came to rendering her out in like part 2, which you will see a couple of weeks from now. But that's basically what we're gonna work from. So I'm starting out by sketching some basic thumbs using a graphite block, and I find that using a block as opposed to a pencil helps me think a lot freer. Anyway, so I decided to go with the third sketch in terms of the pose, and here you can see me going in with a pencil now, a very light pencil, and just drawing out a basic mannequin for the pose that I like. And obviously we're not getting married to anything here. The pose will change, and it does. But this is just for me to better understand where this character is going and what my vision is and stuff. So you want to choose a pose that shows you every element of that character to begin with. So here she's got her hair, she's got her helmet, she's got a big nose. She's got those clunky boots right at the bottom, and now I'm just fleshing out her costume a little bit because I wasn't quite sure, like I didn't want to do the standard leather jacket and leather skirt and stuff like that, but I still wanted it to be feminine and fun while having that leather element. So I was just like playing around, going back in with the block just to add in some dimension. And then I moved on to the facial features. Now on the little sketch, it's obviously very hard to do this because it is so little. But when I move on to fleshing out the face properly, as you will see in just a second, I kind of made it more of a caricature as opposed to a realistic face or a realistic, things. The other thing the character description did mention is that she's not pretty by any means. So I was staying far away from a typical good looking female face. I kind of made it a little longer. I made the nose larger than it would be. The eyes were larger. And the scar across the face. Now again, I think I've forgotten to do this in the final render for episode 2 of this tiny series, but that scar is very characteristic. So I'm just drawing out the large eyes and the nose, and like I said, we're not trying to make her pretty, we're just trying to make her as true to her character as possible. So this is probably not the most attractive face, but you know, it serves our purposes. Okay, so now we're going to move into Photoshop, and I have this character sheet that I always use, and it basically allows me to play around with the costume and things like that, because I'm trying to work on, you know, putting more thought and more effort into what a character is wearing as opposed to just how they look. So I'm starting with that. And with just a small pencil brush, I'm just playing around with a bunch of different costume ideas. Now you can see it's each of these silhouettes or mannequins are the front and back of the same pose, which allows me to kind of see what every element looks like from every angle. You basically want your character to be recognizable just by the silhouette. So you'll see in some of these she has a strong silhouette, in the others she could be just any other character. So in the first one I thought of having her hold the helmet behind her back. And the second costume I went for something a lot more conservative, so just a plain cotton blouse. Maybe she could have some keys on a chain attached to her waist. And instead of boots I thought maybe she could have high heels. And I went with this for a little bit, like you'll see the third one has high heels as well, until I realized she probably wouldn't wear high heels when she's biking, because that's just a recipe for vehicular manslaughter. So I decided to go back to the original boots. In the third one, I kind of thought of giving her a little bit of fur on her little leather jacket, because I thought that softens things up and makes them a little more feminine, you know, and I thought maybe I could have her wearing the helmet here. So that would add to the overall silhouette. So if you were to just see a black shadow of this character, you would be able to recognize her with the helmet on. And finally, for the fourth one, I decided to do some crisscross applesauce magic and give her a leather jacket with a proper collar and some sleeves. Still wanted to keep it short and fun though, didn't want to go down the generic leather jacket route. And here I gave her like knee-high socks and some Converse kind of shoe thingies. And I gave her a skirt just to emphasize the silhouette and make it a little more dynamic. And in this one actually, I thought maybe she could have the helmet resting between her shoes, like between her feet. But obviously that doesn't add to the character as a whole. So at this point, with some larger mannequins, I go through all of my designs so far and just check mark all the little aspects that I want to add to the final, well, semi-final silhouette and pose and whatnot. So I decided to go with the furry jacket, the skirt because it's dynamic, the boots from the first one, and the little chain on her waist, which you're not able to see here, I don't think, but you will see it in a little bit. And she's wearing the helmet on the head, so she's still recognizable from a distance. And I actually really like this design, so what I do next is just enlarge this and start to add some dimension. So I'm just starting by drawing out some facial features. It doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. We are not submitting it anywhere or anything like that. This is just for my personal use, just for me to see how she would look. And I'm going to give her a little bit of dramatic lighting just to bring out all of the important aspects, which is a good tip, by the way, if you feel like suddenly some important parts of your character are getting lost because there is just so much going on. Add some dramatic light, emphasize those specific points. You'll see in a little bit what I mean by this. I'm just starting out with a neutral grey, which is like somewhere close to the midpoint, and then just adding some, not highlights, but like a lighter mid-tone, basically. And I thought of the light coming down from the top left of the canvas, which is like the side her face is facing. I don't know if that makes sense. Now I'm just adding some proper highlights, just where I think the light would fall when it's coming in from the top left, just to emphasize the helmet, the fur on her jacket, the silhouette of the skirt, and the boots. And then I'm going to go in with a dark shadow first. So we're gonna make her hair dark, which is one of the key features. We're gonna give her a nose ring, actually two, but the second one wouldn't be visible at this angle, so you know, pettiness. And add some shadows just to make her look like an actual person and not like a flat paper doll. And now I'm just adding some more detail to her face, adding some proper highlights, which is like, even now it's not like a pure white, but because everything else is so dark, the highlights really stand out. And I added the little chain, as you can see. And then I basically just cleaned up the edges and went ahead and rendered the back portion of the same exact silhouette. So here is my base that I will be working from in the second part of this tutorial series. So yeah, this is the finished piece. And there you go, guys. That is part one of my two-part series on character design. I hope you've enjoyed it so far, and I hope you're excited for next week's video, because I am, for real. So if you enjoyed this video, as usual, please remember to leave me a big thumbs up so I know that you'd like to see more of my work process and learn more about being a character artist and all that good stuff. And if you're interested in watching the rest of this series, then make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell so you know instantly when I upload the next video. Alright, you guys, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. You know I love spending time with you, and I will see you again next week. Bye!